Hey guys, new year and time to develop ourselves, particularly in mental strength and resilience and critical thinking and how to share critical thinking abilities with friends and relations who are perhaps not so good at it, shall we say. But a huge thanks up front to all the people who got back to me after I went out a couple of weeks ago with my new idea. Really appreciate if people share this video for sure. So I'm going to go through very briefly at the workshops that I've designed. I've put a lot of work into them and I'm going to do them live because I think that's the best way. And they'd be full of exercises for the group. And I've invested in a very large touchscreen for a truly immersive experience. It's going to be cool. So I'm going to put together, after 20 or 30 years of applying this psychology, the primary pillars in my mind and integrating them into something really practical that you can take away with you and improve your life in the hours and days after completing the course. So one massive area is cognitive behavioral psychology. So that's the huge one. Could probably do a 40-hour course on it, but we're going to compress it for you. But I'm also going to add in some of the work of Professor Steve Peters, who had fascinating insights and great models to make your success much more likely. Also, we have Dispenza. I don't follow all his stuff, but he has some crucial insights which I will share. And also the Stoics. So I've been a follower of Stoicism for a long, long time, and they have some great wisdom. And it's fascinating that they cracked this sphere thousands of years ago. But I'll pull it all together for you. So we'll be touching on Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Very important to understand what's truly fulfilling for Homo sapiens. And there's some extra stuff they added to the pyramid around 2011, I think. Very important to go through. And then Ivor's integration of the mind, if you will. So I have my own pyramid of sorts where your journey to resilience, mental strength and fulfillment, it requires learning some key tools, key processes that are instinctive that you learn and you apply during your life to reach the best that you can be. I mentioned Dispenza, and he has some fascinating concepts which we'll certainly go into. I've picked the best kind of insights. And we already at this point in the course will go into an exercise, emotional addiction. So internalizing is really important, and we best internalize when we work together through something. So some people would prefer to remain private and can do the exercise, without sharing, and others may prefer to share, which is really, really valuable. And I love that step of the process. So we're going to have exercises throughout the whole course. Professor Steve Peters, I mentioned, and his insights are, I think, crucial because I was applying what he basically goes through in his book for a couple of decades at least, and I thought I had kind of invented this concept of two minds inside our head that struggle with each other, and I had my own way of managing that. But Professor Peters has cracked the case with science and his own observations as a truly incredible psychiatrist. So he basically has the chimp model, and I'll just give you a brief overview of it. I think it's a really important way to achieve success is to have a visualization or a model that you can go by. And we'll talk through a little of how your brain works, not too heavy on the science. I put diagrams together to make it quite simple. And we'll go through the process of how your two thinking minds struggle with each other. And your primordial one tends to drag you back from achieving. It makes you go pretty nutsy when people criticize you, or public speaking is a big challenge, or I could go on all day. But the key thing we'll talk about is how you use your human mind, right, which is quite separate, to encode your memory banks in a sense, and that will manage this other little fella. So it's really cool stuff. You're going to love it. Again, we've got to do exercises to internalize. And of course, already there's another exercise, and that should be fun. Then I'll begin to get into CBT proper and how the mind works in terms of the known, published and understood science. The Stoics I mentioned, they came out with so much amazing stuff. I mean, take this from Aurelius. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. And in a sense, the Stoics actually cracked CBT and all of this scientific arena thousands of years before it became official. So it's a very effective thing to occasionally take stock and look back at the massive history of this whole area. I'm going to use diagrams then to explain the concepts in a very understandable way and make it really concrete for people. I have different versions, different angles of how I perceive this challenge of mental strength and resilience. So I'm going to go through them from different kind of vectors so that people really internalize how to manage your mind. And yes, faith will come up, but we'll mainly be working with thoughts, feelings, and facts. But faith and values is a huge part of this, and most people don't fully realize that. This one I like. It's the kind of emotional cycle that we go through when we're criticized or we're anxious about something, and it will resonate, I think, with a lot of people. There's some hacks to help with this, but the main thing I'll be doing is going through the proper approach. And again, that requires understanding of how your mind works. If you can't understand it, you can't fix it. If you don't measure it, it don't get fixed. So engineering has a lot of phrases that speak to this. You must understand something before you work to resolve it. We'll have to become familiar with the kind of limiting beliefs and the various cognitive dysfunctions that drive us into being weaker people mentally. And we'll go through those and explain them all. And you'll get to recognize when they're happening in you, and you'll get to intervene and stop them. And I go through my historical and present limiting beliefs. So we all got a Pandora's box inside us. It took decades to build, and it comes back to us and gets in our way pretty much all the time, or a lot of the time. And you need to recognize it, and you need to understand how to resolve this perennial issue. We'll have, of course, a thoughts and beliefs exercise so that everyone internalizes this and makes it real for them. And then we'll go into my historical and present values and purposes, because values are hugely effective in giving us resilience and strength in adverse situations. But most people don't actually properly internalize and recognize their values and bring them to assist when times are hard. So that's a really important one. So I'll share mine, and you guessed it, we'll do an exercise around this as well. And hopefully some people will proffer and share and make the learning experience really rich. So the rest of the course is a work in progress. I'm going to be ready for hopefully the 16th. The website link is down below if you want to join us on this journey. I'd be delighted if you could. And I'd be delighted, of course, if you could share this video. Really appreciate that. I've been working for around over 10 years now in the public sphere. Most of what I put out is free on YouTube and Twitter and all the videos and interviews. But for this stuff, I'm putting in a lot of effort. And I've got a second course coming. I haven't even really started yet. And that's to properly put together critical thinking in a way that the layperson can take away and pretty much change the game for themselves, and hopefully help with their friends and relations who have difficulties in critical thinking or have been taken in by propaganda, etc. It's a huge problem. People write to me all the time about this. So I'm going to do a course on that also, and I'll have more courses and workshops to come. So hopefully you can share, hopefully you can jump on board and support this endeavor. And thank you, as always.